Hello, good afternoon to doctor and everyone. I am Adam Hafiz bin Abdul Razak from Group 16. My group consists of 4 people, in which are me, Ikra, Diana, and Umaira. So today I will be presenting about common grammatical errors or mistakes that are usually made by students. So here, as you all can see on the screen, we have chosen 6 titles that are frequently made by most students, which are in prepositions, uncountable nouns, subject-verb agreement, irregular verbs, comparatives that are incomplete, and misusing apostrophe its as in it is versus its. So let's take a look at the first one, which is prepositions. A preposition is a word or a group of words that are used before a noun, pronoun, or noun phrase to show direction, time, place, location, etc. Examples of prepositions are words like in, at, on, of, to, and more. So I will be explaining on how to use prepositions of time because mistakes are mostly made in this area. It takes preposition in, at, and on to refer to one point in time. We use at to refer to a time of the day and use at with noon, night, and midnight. For example, I go to work at 8 and he eats lunch at noon. To refer to extended time, we use the prepositions since, for, by, during, from, to, from, until, with, and within. For example, he will be in Toronto for 3 weeks and I have lived in Malaysia since 2003. First sentence here is, the flight will depart in 8 a.m. The preposition in for this sentence is incorrect because as I mentioned earlier, if we want to talk about the time of the day, we need to use preposition at. So the correct sentence will be, the flight will depart at 8 a.m. Why is it wrong, you may ask? Well, because preposition in can only be used with parts of the day, which are not in specific times, months, years, and seasons. For example, he reads in the evening. Second sentence is, I have been waiting from 3 hours. The preposition from in this sentence is incorrect because we use from to refer to a place where someone or something starts or originates. For example, Jack comes from London. So the correct preposition in this sentence is, I have been waiting for 3 hours. If you want to use preposition from with a time, you need to add to. For example, the show will start from 10 to 11. Next is uncountable nouns. So what are uncountable nouns? Uncountable nouns are for the things we cannot count with numbers. They may be the names for abstract ideas or qualities, or for physical objects that are too small or too amorphous to be counted, such as liquids, gases, powder, and more. They don't usually have a plural form. Plus, we need to use quantifiers to help explain much of the plural form, how much of the noun is. For example, some, much, a little, and etc. Let's start with the first sentence, which is, let me give you an advice or some advices. This sentence is incorrect because advice is an uncountable noun. So you can't use an advice to state how much of the advice is, and we cannot add an s at the end of the noun to make it plural because advice cannot be counted. So the correct sentence is, let me give you a piece of advice or some advice and not advices. Second sentence is, I have access to all the latest information. This sentence is incorrect because information cannot be counted. It is called an uncountable noun, so we cannot put s at the end of the noun. The correct one is, I have access to all the information. Next, subject-verb agreement. Next is subject-verb agreement. Subject-verb agreement means that a subject and its verb must be both singular or both plural. A singular subject takes a singular verb, and uh, a singular subject takes a singular verb, and a plural subject takes a plural verb. So here, the first sentence is, one of my friends like to cook Italian food. This sentence is incorrect because the subject one, which is singular, doesn't match with the verb like, which is plural. So the correct one is, one of my friends likes to cook Italian food. So this is what we call subject-verb agreement because the singular subject takes the singular verb. Second sentence is, the people who live next door asked me to get their mail. This sentence is incorrect because people is plural subject and lives is singular verb and it doesn't match. So the correct one is the people who live next door asked me to get their mail. Next, I will be passing the presentation to Ikra to explain the next grammatical errors.
Hi, I am Ikra and I'm going to continue the presentation by explaining the mistake in irregular verbs, misusing apostrophes, its versus its, and comparatives that are incomplete. So let's take a look at the first one, which is irregular verbs. What is irregular verbs? Irregular verbs are verbs that don't take the regular d, ed, or ied spelling patterns of the past simple or past participle. Many of the irregular verbs in past simple and past participle forms are the same, such as cut. Verb cut will still be cut in the past form or past participle. Verb heard still be heard, and sold will still be sold in past tense and past participle form. So let's take a look at the first example here. I cut my finger. This sentence is incorrect. Why? As I mentioned earlier, in irregular verbs, they don't take on the irregular spelling patterns like plus d, ed, or ied to make a past tense or past participle form. For example, the verb used to make it past tense. Instead, the irregular verbs sometimes can be changed into other words or remain the same. So the correct sentence here is I've cut my finger without ed. It's so much harder to understand irregular verbs compared to regular verbs. But if you learn more about it, you will see the difference. Next example is I choose a pink dress for the wedding. This sentence is incorrect because if we want to make a regular verb choose into past tense, we cannot use regular spelling pattern by adding d at the end of the verb. Instead, you need to change the verb choose to chose to make it past tense, or chosen if you want to make it past participle form. So the correct sentence will be I chose a pink dress for the wedding. Next grammar mistake is misusing. It's with apostrophe and without apostrophe. It's with apostrophe refer to it is or it has. Meanwhile, apostrophe it mean belonging to the subject itself. It is a possessive determiner. We used to say that something belong to or refer to something. First example here is he doesn't think it's a good idea to spend all his money on video games. This sentence is incorrect. Instead of this sentence, take it's with apostrophe, which refers to it because the word it's without apostrophe that isn't belonging to himself, but it refers to the idea. So the correct sentence is he doesn't think it's a good idea to spend all his money on video games. Next example is the cat was licking its tail is incorrect. The correct one is the cat was licking its tail without apostrophe. Why? Because the tail in the sentence belongs to the cat, so it takes its without apostrophe to make it right. The last one is grammar mistake in comparison that are incomplete. What is comparative? Comparative form is used to compare two people, object, or ideas. If you want to compare more things, you need to use superlative that form by adding est, iest, and most. Here, we are talking about comparative that preceded by then and formed by adding er, ier, and more. First example is my hair is smoother and softer. This sentence is incorrect. Why? Because it has no comparison between another idea. Smoother and softer than what? Incomplete comparison is totally wrong in English. So, The correct one is, my hair is smoother and softer than it was a month ago. Next example is, I like chocolate more. This sentence is incorrect. If we ended it with more, it has no comparison. So, to make it right, you need to compare it with another thing or ideas. So the correct one is, I like chocolate more than caramel. That's it from me and Adam. Thanks for listening.